1st, which is the beginning of the new plan year. I want to be very clear, this is not an easy decision for anybody, but it's a necessary one to ensure that the retiree health plan is there for the retirees who depend on it now and the retirees who will depend on it in the future. So I would be happy to answer any questions that I can, and that concludes the report.
Thank you, Alice. To the board members, questions, concerns, comments to the staff members. Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Subsequent to the publication, Ms. Glassy, of the executive summary and the agenda, I've had discussion with a number of the retirement board members, a body that I'm a member of, and I think that we certainly need to hear from those present. But I think that there are some other compromises or other options short of the CEO HR recommendation here that might better address the equity issue with respect to the long-standing issue of Medicare retirees having to pay their Part B Medicare in order to receive any county retiree health benefit. That's a requirement. So already they're out of pocket that roughly $90-some dollars, probably going to approximately, as this document states, 106 predicted or thereabouts, January of '09. So I think that this is an issue that I think that we need to really focus on, and I think unfortunately the way the ad hoc board committee and the CEO's recommendation came out, that was sort of took the second tier position. But I think that if we can move that to front and center, that's an issue that of long standing, and I think my conversations with Mr. Knudsen yesterday, that's the critical one that I think we need to address first, and that's simply an equity issue. The younger retirees between the ages of 50 and up until the 65, the requirement for being part of Medicare, aren't contributing anything, whereas the older retirees reaching the older part of their retirement forced to find that additional money because it's required. So I think that that's one issue that's of long standing that's been a problem, and I think that if we try to deal with that and then take up the issue of, as Ms. Clauser stated in the math that I did, the fund will, the retirement benefit will be increased with the predictions. And there is a shortfall this year. That is a fact. There's a shortfall to the retirement system. In other words, the dollars set aside for retirees in this last calendar year per month will not cover the expenses of the fund. It's a self-insured fund. So it is very timely and it is prudent, and it's now only after, I believe, 3 to 4 years that the premiums are going up. So we've done a good job of holding the line. It's covered it up until this date, but as we know, the employee plan has had several increases in the last 3 to 4 years. The retirement plan has not. So it's timely that we take that step. The prediction by our consultant is it needs to go to $595 per person, per retiree, per month. That's an $85
total premium. Yeah.
Total premium. So that's an $85 jump, and as Ms. Clauser said, that's an increase to the cost of the plan of over $800,000 a year. So I think the second issue we need to look at is how do we address that growing cost? And that's to provide a very quality plan. So I hope when we get into the more specifics of it, we can address that inequity that's there, take that first, and sort of rework what the CEO's recommendation is, because in our conversations yesterday, I think the retiree board members made some very good points that we need to deal with that first and then take another look at that. And I think that we do need to address to some degree both of those issues, but take them separately because they really are two separate things. So I hope that we can get to that after we hear from the public.
Okay, so if I could just make sure I understand what you're saying. In essence, you're saying deal first with the $106 per month kind of inequity between the non-Medicare retirees and the Medicare retirees, which is essentially the Retirement Board recommendation and the Retiree Health Benefits Committee recommendation, and/or it's kind of taking the Board Ad Hoc Committee and CER-HR recommendation and flipping it around instead of doing the $85, which is the premium increase, and passing that on to everyone, and then phasing in the $106 for non-Medicare retirees over 2 years. you would maybe flip that, do the 106 per month for the non-Medicare right up front, and then handle the $85 premium increase in some other fashion, either splitting it or phasing it over a couple years or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that we need to address that issue, and I think it's time that we start looking at a retiree contribution for a portion of that. Only talking about a portion of the
Yeah.
increase. In a sense, all retirees would still, in that formula, receive the same benefit, if
Yeah.
you will, with respect to what was set aside for them per month for health care historically. They're not losing any of that, but someone has to deal with the increases to the premium, and I don't think, if we look at the reports from the stock market yesterday, I don't think the excess earnings are going to be able to be the only fund, and so I think we need to take some proactive steps, I think, now, before we ever get to invoking the full extent of the resolution passed in '98. I think we need to be very clear, and any dollars that retirees would contribute to their own health benefit can never be touched by the retirement board for any other reason, nor can they be touched by the County of Mendocino. So in a sense, any monies given by retirees for their benefit, any benefit,
Yeah, has
is a
to go to-
protection